All right, hey guys, it's Axe. It's Friday, June 30th, just after 3 p.m. on a crazy market day. I apologize. I wanted to go through this live with you all, but some things happened on my end of things that kept me from, let's just say, having a distraction-free environment. So I had to push that back. But nonetheless, I still want to go through the indicators and see where we're at and see what we can expect and compared to prior analysis. So the first thing I want to mention is this area up here, this SPX section. For some reason, TradingView had a big brain fart, and basically it gave me a study error. So I had to basically put in a new SPX overlay, which meant I lost all my pretty lines and boxes and everything. So I'm going to try and recreate that, but that's why it doesn't look right. I think it's orange even in the live stream. But sometimes it's nice to start fresh, so let's just deal with it for now. First thing we'll notice is if I just scroll, here we go. You can see, we're hovering in and out of sell signal on all four indicators. The problem is, and I've explained this in the past, it doesn't matter if we're 1 or 2 out of 4. Like that's basically a little meaningless sell like we got here, right? Like you could say we had 2 out of 4 and we got some selling. So going forward, if you get 2 out of 4, you can expect something. And we started to see here where we crossed this sort of euphoria, this line. And we didn't fully cross over until June 20th. And that's when the selling had started. But you can see we had a higher low. And let me just zoom in here. So once we hit to this spot, like it's very rare that we would hit this and go over it. You can see just anytime we get to this spot on this indicator, we're going to get some selling, right? That's a good time to sell calls, take profits. You can see here, it didn't mean much. We chopped on our way up. Here we got a little bit more. Here we finally got some. So here's a rare case, and it was a melt up in June 2020 where we went below and coming out of that 2020 bear market. But anyway, in general, when we come here, we can expect some selling. But unless we have a full 4 out of 4 sell signal, even a 3 out of 4, we're not going to get much. And you can see we got SPX 44.28 to 43.20, about 100 points. Meaningless, to be honest. During that time, we started to see some movement on the rest of the indicators. We still, after today's euphoria sold off, like they've already taken profit on all those calls. You can see we're still pushing up, which to me signals that there is some selling coming. I don't know how much until we see this euphoria come down here and stick throughout the day. That basically tells me that all these positions are 0-day options, 0 to 1 or 2 day options, and they're only going to impact the market short term, not long term. So we don't really have any commitments from buyers at the moment. In fact, people are going back to being hedged, and that's something to take note of. You can see that happens during the bear market that signaled every major top. In April, for example, if you look at the way this indicator rolled up and crossed over, very similar to what we're doing now, except now we're higher, right? So it's the same action, selling and bounce, only the selling was more and the bounce was less. So these are clear signs to me that the market movements, patterns, whatever, are changing, and we have to adapt with that, right? So we can expect our selling to be less than it was, and we can expect our buying to be more impactful, right? So now it's not sell the rip, it's buy the dip. I know it sounds ridiculous even at these levels, but if you look, I think I mentioned it, we had a breakout of 4,300, and it's a perfect back test of that breakout. So it's hard to get really bearish. To be honest, it's hard to get bearish because we do have this little stalling here in these higher lows, but we don't have a sell signal, and these are all sort of like you can see this one crossed, but they didn't cross together, crossed on the uptrend. So what we need is to get a real sell signal, basically we need more calls to drag this top indicator down, and that will drag this one down, and it will drag this. This one will probably just levitate around here for a while unless we get some serious selling, which I don't expect. To give you an idea of what that looks like, let me go back to Feb 2020. You can see we basically, we hovered around here. This indicator rolled back over. It took a while. That was we barely made it to the red line before we took off. So we're not really in a similar situation. If we go back to 2018, you could argue that it's quite similar. I'm just doing some quick looking here. Not too far off, but again, I hesitate to compare to any area. I'd really have to go back further in time, the 80s, 2000s, stuff like that, because everything's different. And I just don't think this is like anything else we saw before, with the exception of like I showed you before, we had this sort of melt up, and we were noticing some similarities between this period in 2019 and now. And you can see we even got that little V action. And if this little melt up continues, which I honestly I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. You can see the indicators look quite similar. We're crossing up. We did eventually head into euphoria, and that triggered the rest of this move. So I would not honestly be surprised to see something like that trigger and get us up to here, SPX 4800, a little selling to trap bears. And again, 5100, 5K, something like that. Like, we've been waiting for that for a long time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So to me, we're closer to something like this than we are to something like this, or that. I shouldn't say that. Something like March or August top. I wouldn't be surprised, the February top, something like that, or even what we saw in November to come back down and retest some of this liquidity, 4,200 maybe. But now I'm running out of, to be honest, hope that we're going to get much lower, especially looking at some of these fractals and paradigms. It looks like a squeeze back to all-time highs. And until we get a sell signal, right now we have jambalaya, soup sandwich, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing really going on here. We need more calls, and more calls means more upside. And so that means if we reverse to euphoria here, these hedgers are going to be forced to buy and chase, right? Which means more highs, which means we're going to have to reprint these like higher lows on the put call ratio, which is going to take more time, right? So for me, I don't see much to do here other than buy the dip, look for moments of euphoria and areas of interest in terms of supply, and maybe sell some calls. But there's not a lot of bearish charts out there right now. It's really tough to find anything overly bearish. There's going to be some rotation and things like that, which we'll pick up on some charts over the weekend and during the holiday. But right now, to be honest, I just think we're closer to something like this. That was November. Now we're December, and it could just keep going. I hate to be the bearer of bad news to bears. I know some of you have been waiting to just keep buying the dip, and I honestly think that's where we're at. You've seen my AMD targets. You've seen my NVIDIA target. I've got targets extreme upside, and it's ridiculous. But sometimes you have to shift your mindset and stop looking at what's to the left, the immediate left, which is this bear market, and start thinking about this in terms of, it's very clear to me we've got this breakout and a retest, which means we can probably test here 4,600 before we come back and test 4,200. So it's kind of gross and disgusting, but it is what it is. I hope that helps. I'm happy to take more questions. I keep these annotations on here, just to be honest, just to help you study different areas that match and look for the patterns there. But if that becomes a distraction, let me know. I will see you next week. I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great holiday.